Hello and welcome to AWS On Air. We are here live at the SF Summit. This is day 2, and I am one of your hosts, Kyle Lee from I am a senior developer advocate from the AWS Amplify team, and I'm joined here with my good friend Steve.
Hi, I'm Steve Roberts, developer advocate for .NET and PowerShell in the EC2 team. I noticed you said day 2. As a long-term Amazonian, it's always day 1.
Oh,
So
my bad.
I feel obligated to point that out. Day 1, part 2.
So we're here at day 2, and we are.
Hang on.
Go ahead, Steve.
It's my mic somewhere. So we're going to recap the keynote in 10 minutes, hopefully. A lot of announcements. And then throughout the rest of the day, we're going to invite various guests from the service teams to come up and talk about the launches.
That's
so
right.
We'll dive in more detail.
Yeah, so we're actually going to be going through essentially everything that's been covered in today's keynote, and we're going to actually be dealing with some of the team members, and they're going to be exploring and talking about everything that is being released, and we're actually going to be able to see demos throughout the day. Now, like you said, there were a lot of really cool things announced. We have a couple of them listed here. Let's start off with one of the first ones that was announced, which is Amazon Aurora serverless. So that was one of the things that was announced, and what that's supposed to do is it's essentially allowing you to auto scale your auto scale for growing databases. I'm probably butchering it, so we're going to actually be diving into that session next. So we're going to be hearing a deep dive on how all of that works together, and talking about Aurora serverless instances.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool. I mean, if you've got spiky workloads, right, and you're trying to figure out what the provision capacity should be, right, you can either, okay, let's provision for the max we think we're ever going to get, or let's take an analysis over time and then kind of go for less 75, 80%, whatever, right? And you're not using that, right? So you're just overpaying. You're not using elasticity, the cloud. So what this is letting you basically do is, okay, let's just scale it on demand as we need it, but for a database workload.
Exactly.
Which I think is pretty cool.
Only using what is relevant to you, right?
And paying for what you need.
Exactly. So. The classic way of pricing structure, right?
Yeah.
So then we also have TwinMaker, the IoT TwinMaker that was also announced. And one of the really cool things that was announced about this is that it's dealing with 3D renderings, which is like, once again, if you weren't here yesterday, I talked a lot about how I'm a very visual person. So when I see things like 3D renderings, that like just really makes me excited right off the bat.
Yeah.
So there's things that they could model, like buildings and factories and any other assets that might be inside the building.
Yeah, I found that curious because I'm used to, I don't know a huge amount of IoT, but I'm kind of used to the idea of a digital asset mapping to like some small piece of equipment. But the idea that this is building out to factories and buildings and warehouses, like, how does that work? Right? So I'm really curious to get into that one later on.
Yeah, so we're going to be actually seeing some more about that. Just like I said, we're going to be covering all of this in great detail with some of the folks on the team that actually helped build the thing. After that, we had SageMaker serverless inference. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
This is going back to that idea we were talking about with spiky workloads for databases. But in this case, this is your model inference, right? So you're not sure exactly what capacity that you need. So instead of over provisioning and then wasting it, or under provisioning and then having scaling issues, let the cloud do what it does best. Scale automatically for you based on the request coming in for inference, scale back if you don't need it.
That's right.
And take care of all that undifferentiated heavy lifting.
Yeah.
I had to get that in.
Yeah. Yeah, like so any application that is looking to scale, you're definitely going to want to check out the serverless inference, because that's exactly what it's there for. What else did we have?
So we had new data connectors for Amazon Athena.
Oh yes.
Right?
Tell us about that.
So when Athena launched originally, it was an interface effectively onto querying data stored in Amazon S3. So over time, we extended it to support Redshift and DynamoDB, all from one sort of query tool. Now it's extending out with additional federated connectors. So now you can pull in, effectively think like we do data. We're used to doing database joins on tables, right? But imagine if you can join your data warehouse to your data lake and other data sources, and then just query from one place across that.
So dealing with quite a bit of data and like essentially being able to connect all of the pieces
just
together.
connect them all in with an easy selector mechanism inside the console. Yeah.
and growing the amount of sources that it can actually connect to. So,
Yep.
yeah, like once again, another service that's essentially going to meet you where you're at and going to allow you to use more of the services that you're already familiar with. So, can't go wrong there, right?
Can't go wrong there.
And
Nope.
then one of the last ones that was also announced was Amplify Studio. Now, obviously, I'm going to have a little bit of a bias about this because I am on the team. So I thought it was a pretty cool introduction too, and it's something that the team has been working on quite a bit. And the really cool thing about what's being announced in Amplify Studio is that you're able to take a design from Figma, and you take your UI design, and then it actually is able to translate that into code so
Yep.
that you can actually start using it in your application.
Yeah, yeah. So I wrote the news blog post for this that just went out, and that was the thing that I think impressed me the most. That I could go into Figma. I had no experience with Figma before I started. Go into Figma, lay out some design, then effectively pull that into an Amplify project, and then work with it there and override it. Do UI bindings, override the properties, theme it, etc.
Yeah.
But I can do that without losing my changes when I next go back to Figma. So if I'm a designer working in the designs, we radically change the design.
Yeah.
When I pull that back into my Amplify project, I'm not going to lose that, or lose what I've customized on the code side. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Exactly, and one of the coolest things about that, I think, is the fact that you're able to actually take your design and let's say that you want to start off with Figma and this is just your jump off point. Well, that's something that is available where you could just use it as a starting point, and then what you do is you then can take the code that's generated for you that builds out that UI and essentially just run with it and continue to build on it, and you don't necessarily have to go back to it. So it does give you a lot of different options, and it's a really cool resource. So we're going to also be looking at that a lot later too.
Yeah, it's
So-
very easy to use as well. I mean, I come from the .NET world, right?
Okay.
So I'm used to XAML, Windows Presentation Foundation, and working with markup. It's working from a design tool and coming back into the code is not something that I tend to do.
Yeah.
I'll work from inside the XAML or the raw WPF. So, I actually was able to pick it up really, really quickly. And, I'm pretty dumb. I
don't
I
think
would
you're
count
dumb,
myself
Steve,
as pretty
come
dumb. But it was operating in a world that I'm not used to, like React and TypeScript and JavaScript. I know a little bit of TypeScript, but yeah, it was super easy to pick up. I was impressed.
Yeah, so a lot of really great things that have been announced during the keynote, and we're going to be seeing, once again, everything in great detail today. Me and Steve, we're going to be up here for the first half of the day, I think.
Pretty much.
And then, we're going to have our other hosts join us, and then we're going to be talking about all the other things that have been announced that may not have made it into the keynote. So there's all kinds of stuff that is here for you. We're going to be looking at some quick tips today, right?
Yep.
So we have some quick tips.
Yeah, we have
schedule.
TNC coming
TNC,
back on
yep.
training and certification. If you don't know,
Yeah, it's not terms and conditions.
we've got the digital badging.
Oh,
We're gonna be
okay,
talking
yeah,
about digital badging again today. So yeah,
Yeah.
we've got a full day.
And it's gonna be quite fun. So one of the things that I really want you to do, anybody that's watching the stream, is let us know where you're viewing from, and let us know
Yeah.
if you have had the chance to visit a SF Summit, and if you haven't, then let us know what is something that you are interested in knowing, and maybe we might be able to tell you a little bit about it, because we're essentially here to provide you with the experience of being here at the SF Summit for anybody that wasn't able
Yeah.
to join, because it's actually pretty nice. out
Yeah,
there.
we're sitting in the expo hall. There has been some argument between myself and my fellow co-hosts whether we're in the middle of the hall or not. We're in the middle of the back of the hall.
We're in the middle, center rear, yes.
Center rear, yeah. Next to the AWS stand. So if you are at the summit, feel free to stop by and say hello.
Yep.
Assuming you're watching us at the same time while you're at the summit. Why not, right? Why not? Yeah, come by, say hello.
Or have your little head walk by, but
Yeah,
make it inconspicuous.
yeah. Just walk behind the barrier here. Yeah. A moment of fame.
But yeah, that's so. Like I said, lots of great things coming up. Next, what we're actually going to be jumping into is the first thing that we had touched on, which is going to be Amazon Aurora serverless. So, like I said, I didn't get all the details in there, and we're actually going to be joined by one of our guests that's going to be talking about it in much more detail, so that we can actually understand what is being released, what's so cool about it, and why it's relevant to you. So make sure you hang in there and keep on watching.